Hello and welcome to Ask the Dice Maker. I'm Sasha, the master dice maker behind Sunshadeau Arts, and I'll be your guide on this journey into the world of handmade resin dice. So today on Ask the Dice Maker, I'm going to share my personal method for determining dice value. Hey Sasha, how do you price your dice? I frequently get asked by people wanting to get into the dice making industry how to determine their selling price for their dice. Now, there are many different ways that makers and companies determine a price for their products. Many different ways. But there are also some common misconceptions about how to price something for sale. The biggest one is that you should base your price around some equation like materials plus labor equals price. This is the one that I see all the time. And I'm shocked at how often people think that pricing actually works this way. It really doesn't. I mean, do you really think that all the items that you buy are materials plus labor? Well then, how on earth is that random CEO able to buy their fourth yacht then? The real equation is more like materials plus labor plus profit equals price. If you're using an equation to price a product, you have to include a profit margin. You need profit to reinvest into the company, to grow and expand, and to give yourself an extra little payday every once in a while. And profit, making money, is the whole point of running a business, right? Well, that may be true of most companies producing a product in this consumerist hellscape. This isn't necessarily true for a lot of artists and small makers. Making money isn't always the point, but you have to make money to make a living. For myself, as an artist, I never think about my creations as products and their worth as an equation. I mean, you aren't buying the 500,000th item to be cranked out by a soulless machine. And determining an artistic creation's worth should be based on so much more than numbers. So how does one price their handmade dice? Well, in my opinion, your dice should be priced at the maximum amount they will sell at. Period. Determining the worth of an artist's work is like determining the worth of the artist themselves, so don't shortchange yourself. Most people, especially artists and makers, don't value themselves enough, so one good metric is that your price should be high enough that it makes you a little uncomfortable. Let me say that again. Your price should be high enough that it makes you uncomfortable to ask it. Then you know you're probably in the right ballpark. Now, what I learned in one of my business classes, and if you are thinking about starting a small business, please take business classes. They are invaluable. It is one thing to just dream of making things and selling them because you want to make stuff, but learning how to strategically run an actual business will change your life. Seriously, my profit went up like 10 times after I took my first course. Do it, it's so worth it. Anyway, what I learned in business class is that if you are creating a luxury product, and most small makers and artists should be thinking of their art as a luxury product, there is no real equation that's useful for determining price, because the value is in the artistic brilliance of the maker. You simply can't quantify that. Makers are often afraid to charge their worth because they are afraid people won't pay it. But here's a little secret. My business did much better, and I sold way more dice after I raised my prices. And the reality is that people will think an item has more value if it has a higher price tag, especially if that item is handcrafted. If a handmade item has a lower price tag, the automatic assumption is that the quality is not very good and people won't buy it. A good method when you're starting out is to look at what other makers in the industry are selling for. This will give you a rough idea of the current market. Then set your initial prices somewhere in the middle of the spectrum, but remember, high enough to be uncomfortable. As your business grows and you get better, you can slowly raise your prices. Keep raising them until you reach the point where things don't sell out as quickly. Then you know you've probably hit the right price for your dice. So, there it is. The only way to determine your art's worth is to ditch the complicated equations and just go with your slightly uncomfortable gut. That's it for this episode of Ask the Dice Maker. Until next time. Do you have a question you'd like to ask the Dice Maker? Drop it in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Want to check my credentials? Visit my website at sunshadowarts.com or find me on Twitter or Instagram at Sunshadeau Arts. And consider joining the Sunshadow community by becoming a patron on Patreon.